like the Emmy boobs. She's sticking them out like that as she holds the globe over her head. So sexy.
I think it's 6 of 10 after the Emmy boobs thing.
Yeah. Woo. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.
Third Degree, the podcast, is brought to you by the El Matador Watch Party. This weekend, Minnesota versus FC Dallas up there in the Great White North. But you can watch it snug in downtown Dallas at the Scarlet Pumpernickel. That's April 19th, 7:30 p.m. FC Dallas at Minnesota United. They're going to have the entire second floor reserved. All the TVs will have the game on, full sound, bartender, amazing food. Plenty of street parking down there, local garages nearby, but best of all, the Scarlet Pumpernickel is only 2 blocks from the Akron Street Dart Station. Come on down, join El Matador, watch FC Dallas take on Minnesota United. Siempre contigo.
Well, hello there, FC Dallas Curious fan. Welcome to yet another episode on the regular of Third Degree, the podcast. This is episode 307. He is here in full effect, returning from foodstuff play. It is Dan Crooke. Howdy, Dan.
Hello. What a crap week to come back.
Steel yourself, Dan Crooke. It's a long season. And your hero, my hero, everybody's hero, editor, founder of thirddegree.net, and the original soccer influencer, Buzz Carrick. Come in, Buzz.
Hey guys, I don't know why, but maybe it's because the Dallas Cup rolled around, but it hit me this week. I was thinking about the fact that we're now over 300 episodes on this thing, and I'm not sure I thought we would ever hit 300, so it's pretty remarkable that we're all still here. And thanks in advance for being here for 300.
You're welcome. Is that what you're looking for?
I guess. I don't know. I just was when we hit 300, I didn't think about it for some reason. It didn't really process the idea of, man, 300.
When was the wait year? Because I'm having a hard time because we've started and stopped. It's kind of like the radio show. We're on episode 400 and something, but that's because we get preempted and bumped.
Yes.
So that's why it was weird that I said it took us 10 years to get to 400 episodes. Because we get preempted all the time. So we've been pretty regular with this every week for what? How long? When did we start doing it? What year?
This is the 7th season of the podcast. We didn't start at the beginning of the season. We started mid-season, but it's the 7th FC Dallas season in which we've been doing it. So we're at looks
like October 18th, 2018.
Yeah, it was late in a season, but yeah.
So it was after the last time they won silverware.
Yeah. Thanks.
And has there been a really good season? Yeah, the 22 season.
Yeah,
they got to what? Yeah, they got to what? The quarterfinals or semifinals? Conference semifinal that year?
Well, they won their first round of the playoffs. I think that was about it. But they were in third place, fourth place, third or fourth place. I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
At the end of that season.
Well, so that leads me to the events of last weekend where Dallas hosted Jesus Ferreira. The week that Luka comes back to Dallas is also the same week as Jesus returns to Frisco and our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ was resurrected, or whatever that story is. And all of that happened in the same week as Seattle comes to town. And at least I'm just going to say the most positive thing. Jesus didn't score a goal, and he looks exactly like the same player he was when he left here last year. So, and Seattle won the game 1-0.
Yeah, he does look like exactly the same player as he was before. I think we should not bury the lead that this is a very bad loss. Historically, Seattle has a name brand that you think, oh, it's Seattle, they're really good. Not this team. That was their first road win of the year. Their second win of the season. They have had trouble scoring, have trouble keeping people out. This was a game on paper that Dallas is supposed to win. You're supposed to win your home games. You're supposed to beat teams that at the time had 6 points. They were the 8th off the bottom in the entire league. So this is a brutal loss at home. And it's not just like the fact that you lost. It's that they actually played really, really poorly. So don't undersell that this is obviously a cataclysmic performance. In the end of the day, it's going to be one game if they can rebound. But this is the kind of loss that's going to make them scratch their heads and reevaluate and think, what in the world is going on? And it'll put a seed of doubt in the back of the brain of the coaches and the players, and they're going to have to work hard to not let that seed grow from here because it's that bad of a game.
And that wasn't even like Seattle's main starting 11 either. That was kind of am I right? That was kind of a B team for them.
I don't know enough about their roster to tell you that, but I know they have some hurt players, and they're missing some pieces. So, there were some guys coming off the bench that I was surprised were coming off the bench, but
I saw Jordan Morris in warmups.
Yeah. So he didn't play. But the other wing, Vega, has been doing a lot of the hard work for them of late, so I'm not an expert enough on Seattle to really tell you, but I feel like that was a team that was reeling as much as they were ever reeling, and they were looking for answers too. And so like for them they were a team that went from being second over in the league in the number of passes and the amount of possession percentage to not wanting the ball and allowing Dallas to have 50-something% of the ball. And they only had like 44%. And how you go such a flipped cadence of like the nature of the two teams to happen, it's hard to understand. But Seattle did a really nice job pressing high and clogging in the middle and making it virtually impossible for Dallas to play out of their end at all, which is not something Dallas wants to do anyway. And Dallas wasn't able to let Seattle have the ball and get mistakes off of turnovers, which is what they want to do. So Seattle took Dallas out of their game. Maybe that's a great coaching performance by Smetzer. Perhaps. It's hard to say.
Dan, Dallas, 8 games into the season, are in 8th place. I'm curious as to what you think. They at a record of 3-2-3, essentially 500. Where do you think this team is at this point after 8 games? How good? How bad? How we don't know yet?
How we don't know yet. How we've been saying it would be for a long time. I think the concerning thing for me is that everything good or bad always comes back to mentality rather than lessons learned, like actual tactical improvement. It's always, first thing coach said was, I felt like they had a bigger mentality. And
man, that always drives me nuts when I hear a coach say something like that after a game. I'm like, you really want to say that out loud? Because that's not a good look.
Yeah, I mean, that's the staff's job, is to kind of instill that. So a little weird that 8 games in and we're still coming back to that. We've gone through a couple of years of mentality is the key word, and now the process is the key word. So we're kind of back to square one a little bit.
Buzz, I really thought that this game highlighted a lot of the things that we've been talking about for the first 2 months of this team, which is maybe the one thing that they're good at and all the other things that they're not good at. Because in watching the team in person, I had kind of 2 suspicions going in and seeing them in person for the first time. And I'll get to the second one later on. But the first one is if they can win the ball in the other team's defending half, either because they give it to them or they win it from forcing a turnover, they can be dangerous because Musa and Lucho are good at kind of making moments. But if they have to play the ball out of their own half of the field, either through restart or because they win the ball back, they can't cross midfield. I stopped counting at one point, Buzz, I think I counted up to 17 times they started in their own half, and only 3 times were they able to get past midfield without turning the ball over.
Yeah, you're looking at a team and a coach who's trying to deal with the fact that he only has 2 really special players. He's got 2 DPs, and he only has 2 U22 initiative players, which is the other way you should be able to get special players. So he lacks difference makers. He has a bunch of guys. Now, I think that some of the guys are better than last year. I think there's been some upgrades, but he still lacks difference makers. He has 2 guys. They both play up front and hold hands and stand there in the middle up front. So the entire game plan is, how do I get the ball to them as fast as possible so they can be special? And everybody else, the other 9 players, are all just trying to keep goals out. In a way, it's reminiscent of 2010 when David Ferreira was here. And David Ferreira was a league MVP. And that was the same kind of team. It was the same, like, that's the special guy. Heath Pierce even talks about it in a podcast I was listening to. The 2010, it was everybody defends, we get the ball, we boot it up the field to David Ferreira. Same thing. So whether it's a turnover, and so you get the ball high on their end, and really quickly those guys can do something, or it's an attempt to get it up by kicking it really quickly up there, then they can kind of do something. You're right, when they have to go through the middle, and it was even worse with Sebastian Jet out, and we've lost the one guy that was in the midfield that could kind of transition and line break a little bit, is out 8 weeks. And Anderson Julio took a couple of weeks off getting his green card, which is totally fine. We love that. But then he came in and was playing more narrow and was not, he can be somewhat of a difference maker, but he is not the same level. And he was not able to do anything. So Quill's going to have to do a lot of thinking about like how to be fair to the guy, he's caught between two things. One is that results are everything. I have to win. If I don't win games, I'm going to get fired because you got to make the playoffs. So I got to win. And then the other thing is, how do I make this team actually better and climb and make it a team that can be higher in the standings? And maybe that's by developing some youth. Maybe that's by changing some formations. Maybe it's by getting some new pieces. That's a long-term thing. So he's torn between these two things. The short term, I must win. And the long term, how do I get better? And so that translated in terms of the tactics in this game in particular, which we'll do in a minute. But you're right. That's all it is. It's like, if I can get my two special guys to have the ball high up near the box, I have a chance to score a goal. And otherwise I have no chance to score a goal. And we saw that in this game when there was no chance that they were going to score a goal because they couldn't get the ball to those two guys, especially once Musa went out hurt.
Oh, I mean, look at the 4 home games, 2 of them, they haven't had a shot on target.
I mean, I don't know what to say to that. Yeah.
No. I mean, it just goes to your point, Peter. You'd be really proud of me. My first note, watching the game was, this team is not good enough to play out of the back.
They're not. I mean, and I'm not sure I know what they're good at doing other than more times than not making a lot out of opportunities that are either handed to them because the other team just flat out passes the ball to them in their attacking half of the field, or they win it and they do something with it. But that doesn't even happen all that often. They can't they can't break a press. They can't play through a press, and they can't play over a press because every long ball ends up going to an opponent, or most of them do. And man, just watching that in person Saturday just confirmed with me. And I okay, here I go. They're worse in person than they are on television.
Oh man, yeah, that game was so boring on TV.
And here's the thing. I don't know if they've been this boring all season long and it just hasn't translated on TV. There are people that have seen them multiple times, but goodness gracious, watching them turn the ball over like that needlessly time and time again was just not fun to watch. It's really aggravating.
That was exceptionally bad. That wasn't like par for the course by any means.
No? Okay.
I think the one area that we can talk about them being better now than they were at the beginning of the year is in terms of the amount of goals they've given up. In the first 3 games, they were bleeding goals, and then they lost to Vancouver, who's one of the best teams in the league, 1-0. And then since that, which is 4 games now, they've only given up 1 goal or less in those 4 games since they've changed formations, basically. They went to the tactic with Ramiro in the single, with really, as Quill called it, I said it kind of looks like a diamond. Quill says it's a 4-3, implication being that Delgado and Leggett, until this point, drop in next to Ramiro. So that defensive shell has allowed them to keep it under 1 goal allowed a game. Except that at the same time, they've stopped scoring. In the first few games, they were scoring a fair amount of goals. The only game they've had more than 1 goal since then on the offensive end is Sporting Kansas City, who stink. So Dallas is only getting 1 goal or less. So it's like,
man, Buzz, yeah. Seattle is awful. That's the worst Seattle team I have ever seen, period, the end. And it's not even close.
Well, at the beginning of the year, we were talking about how it was going to be 3-3, 4-3 all the time, because the defense stunk and the offense was really good. Well, he's sacrificed all that offense to grind out to bring the defense down. And so they're going to have to decide, like, maybe we got to go back to open it up.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm not even sure how good the defense is just because they're playing teams and holding them to 1 goal that, by and large, other than Vancouver, aren't like high-scoring teams. I mean, Seattle's terrible. Kansas City's terrible. Salt Lake, the game they won in Salt Lake, I don't know what Salt Lake. I mean, that was also a broken Salt Lake team that played a man down for most of the game.
Yeah, without Luna.
So I mean, I just don't have a real sense if this kind of new defensive low scoring thing is a real thing or not. But what I can tell you is their inability to score goals is not a mirage. Before we get into the Musa stuff, let's talk about some of the other big headlines of the game, which was I don't remember if I predicted it last week. Kaick got his first start of the year. He got a full start, Buzz. I thought this was going to happen. You didn't think you'd get a start. And I thought, we're going to go full tucked in shirt Brazilian kid. The puppy got his start.
The money counts, I guess. I mean, it was him or the other choice I thought would have been real possible was Nsebling, because Nsebeling's played in a bunch of games and has, 180 minutes, like an actual piece that's been used pretty consistently. Show we hadn't seen get a single minute up to that point. Diego Garcia hasn't gotten a single minute to that point. So really it was probably between those two guys. I'm sure it comes down to the fact that Siki Nsebling is not a great defender, as we saw when he tried to play left back late in the game. Kaick got in there and ran around like a puppy. And, he had so many amazing, exciting, raw pieces that are still like just thrown into a bowl and we're still stirring them up. Like you don't really know what the end product is going to be in a year or 3 years or 4 years. He could be great. He also could be terrible. Because this game had moments of good stuff and it had moments of like, what are you doing? And guys are running past him and he's not closing down. And then he's making 30-yard runs and tackling a guy. And it's just like, from minute to minute, it was like, okay, that was great. Okay, that was really bad. I never could decide whether I thought he played well or not. It was just there,
Well, he was smaller than I thought he was going to be. And I love the fact that he plays with his shirt tucked in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's awesome.
That's super old school.
I know. In fact, this weekend, I tucked my shirt in during my game just in honor of Kaick.
But was it a Brazilian tuck?
No, it wasn't. Mm-mm. It was proper American tuck, sir.
I don't think I want to know what the difference is.
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
It's way better than an English tuck.
I don't know what to say to that.
All right. So any other commentary on Kaick? I Buzz, I found him to be utterly confusing. And you know what he looked like? This is the best way. This was the conversation I was having with the people that I went to the game with in the car. He looked like the outstanding academy product who got his first senior league start at home.
I mean, I'm fascinated by the potential. I'm fascinated by the pieces, but right now it's just a mess. He doesn't know what to do. He's just running around,
and he's not good enough to start.
I mean, I probably not, but I don't know that they have anything right now that would be better. You have to ask serious questions right now about what your options are, which we'll get to later.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
Yeah.
And then also the other headline is the injury to Petar Musa. Now that whole thing was really weird. Seeing it go down in person was a very confusing mixture of messages that were being and very concerned looks at the time that it happened, and subsequently when they stretchered him all the way over. It was the weirdest thing. So the incident happens and he goes off the field and you can tell he's in a lot of pain. And the trainers come over and he tries to get up and put weight on it. And he obviously can't put any weight on it. He immediately goes back to the ground. They call for the stretcher. They stretcher him. And while the game is going on, they're stretchering him all the way around the field. And then they stop at the Dallas bench and they just set him on the ground till halftime. And the looks on everybody's faces were really dire. He didn't look too concerned about it at that point. Like he just was sitting there with his hands on his face, like he was upset, but he wasn't like grabbing at his ankle, and his ankle didn't look like instantly swollen or anything, but he didn't try to get back up on it. The doctors were kind of looking at each other, very concerned. The halftime whistle blew, and then they stretchered him into the locker room. And then after the game, they said, "Oh, it's a sprain. We don't know how bad it is." But I can just tell you from personal experience, if you can't put weight on your ankle, it's not just a sprain.
Yeah, you don't think it could be a high one or something could be severe enough?
Well, if it's a high one, then he's gone for 2 months. High ankle sprains are brutal.
Oh, yeah.
But if you can't put weight on your ankle when you stand up on it in the way that he did, just my personal experience and watching other people do this, I mean, I don't think it's like a 1 week, 2 week thing. Do you?
Well, yeah, no, like usually an ankle that's a 1 or 2 week thing, you roll and you keep playing.
Right.
You spray it at halftime, tape it up, and keep going, or maybe you get a cortisone shot or something.
Don't take the shoe off. That's what they tell you.
Yeah, don't unlace it. Yeah,
don't unlace it.
Get it back up.
Keep it compressed. And
We've all done
up.
that. Yeah, yeah. Of course, not being able to walk out it makes us worried, right? But coach said after the game it's a sprain, so okay. I'm sure today was, get some swelling down, get an MRI on it, see what's going on. They'll probably have Garrett Meltzer, say what it is Wednesday, Thursday, something like that, or maybe even on Friday when the injury report comes out. I mean, we'll have to operate with assuming he's going to miss a game, maybe, but you would think can't walk out it means you're going to at least miss a game. But
yeah, well, Dan, I was waiting to talk to you because you also have personal experience about this. When I first saw it happen, and then I saw the replay of it going down, I thought, man, is that his Achilles?
Yeah, the way he went down and then immediately kicked his boot off, I was like, oh, yeah. But then when he tried to stand up on it, you could see he was in pain. My reaction was just, oh, thank God for that, because you don't feel anything until the swelling really kicks in. So the fact that he could, the fact that he had that pain, was definitely a good sign, because I remember
at least in relation to it being an Achilles.
Yeah, because I remember when I did mine, it was the same thing. It's that confusion of, well, nothing hurts, but I can't put weight on it. Let me kick my boot off and immediately try and see.
Right.
And you're just left there holding it. Like I remember when Mauro Diaz did his, he's just sitting on the ground holding his foot in the air, looking all confused. So yeah, just that was the biggest relief for me, that it wasn't that. And coach didn't seem too concerned by it, but yeah, I mean, with those sort of injuries, you can't tell anything until the swelling goes down.
Yeah. Now the other problem is that Farrington came on for him, and that then any little spark of hope they were going to score a goal on Saturday night disappeared when Musa went off the field, because Farrington didn't fare well. His connection with Lucho is not very good, and at least not as good as it is with Musa. And it all just kind of withered on the vine at that point, and the game got really boring.
Well, that was one of my criticisms of that game, even before Musa went out, was that I never felt like Dallas had anywhere close to a chance to score. Not until like the 91st minute. Anderson Julio had that touch right like at the top of the box. I go, oh, and then it was over like that. I was like, that's it. The whole game, that 1-2 seconds was the only time I ever thought there was even a hope. So you're right. It's worse than when Farrington went in, or Farrington, as the Astros keep calling him for some reason. When you don't have a cohesive front plan, a front execution, a front dynamic, because guys are just sort of independently freelancing, it's hard for somebody else to step right in there and do the exact same thing. No offense to Logan Farrington, he's not Petar Musa. That's fine. It's okay that he's not. It's gonna contribute to why a coach is gonna have to sort of reevaluate what he's doing, probably, if he's gonna lose Musa for a bit. It's like again, DP players, special players. If you don't have them, it's very, very difficult to compete. He's gonna have to try and figure out a way to make Logan Farrington more than he is. And I love Logan Farrington. I think he's a fantastic player, but he's not Petar Musa.
No.
That's a problem.
No. He works harder than Musa, but he doesn't have the skill sets, or
no.
he's not there yet. They're two different levels of player. Obviously, the starting again of Delgado, seeing him play in person, that was another one. Matt Doyle is so all up in Delgado's pants, and I don't understand why. I don't see it. I don't think he's a MLS starting quality midfielder. And
the only thing positive about his game with the black boots he was wearing were awesome.
Agreed. Yeah. You put Kaick's tucked in shirt and those black shoes, and you got a baller, man.
Yeah, for sure. Like you could tell, I think Quill tried to kind of tactically have his cake and eat it too, because I think that the operating theory, according to what Steve Davis was saying and according to what I was watching, was Patterson Delgado was supposed to sort of flex. I mean, the kid's rangy, or he can be, so he was supposed to sort of be an 8 and then get up there on the wing. Well, he never really got up there on the wing, and he never really was much of an 8. He only had like 22 touches in his half of the game, and while he did have 5 progressive passes, that was the only positive thing he did, and all those were deep. None of them were high. None of them got into the box. None of them created a shot. None of them led to a key pass or anything like that. So he was as absent as a player ever has been. And so I don't think it's surprising that he got lifted, and if you look at the FC Dallas shape, the whole thing is cattywampus to that side because he's trying to get out and do these things. So both Ramiro and Kaick shift that way. And you ended up with Shaq Moore having like the whole half of the field by himself, except Shaq Moore is not Brian Reynolds or Reggie Cannon and can't do like a flying wing thing. I don't know why he can't. Maybe he's being instructed not to, because I will give him credit that like those back post defensive goals he was allowing early in the season have dried up. And maybe that's why he's not getting forward at all, because he's not turning into the flying winger that I thought he was going to be. If you look at the heat map, there's no red up the right side at all. It's all left side. It's just completely imbalanced.
Yeah. And Buzz, you're the tactical guy on the show more than I am, and just being there in person, trying to work out what the tactics are was really, I just couldn't identify. Like I could very clearly see what Smetzer was doing with Seattle, especially when he went from the 3 in the back to the 4 in the back, and it was very clear and obvious to see what Seattle was trying to do. They weren't doing it very well because again, they're terrible.
Yeah.
They won't be in August and September. We all know that. But right now they're terrible. But Dallas, I couldn't figure out for the life of me who was where and who was doing what. And I don't know if that's a feature or a bug, but it's annoying to not be able to identify what your own team's trying to do.
Well, it was in theory the same shape, sort of, as they've been doing this diamond thing where you have this double 8s, but they, like I said, they tried to get Delgado to release, and that didn't work. It just left Delgado having to run too far. It left the team out of shape, out of whack, out to the left, and just none of it works. Like if you look at the passing map, like none of the play goes through Delgado at all. It's all through Nolan Norris and then back into Ramiro and then forward. It's like the game completely bypassed Delgado. He might as well not even been out there, honestly, for the little impact he had.
So is there any reason why he's just not playing the 4-2-3-1 and pushing Acosta back a little further and
it's Ramiro?
Well, I mean, look, Ramiro's not great, but I don't know. It just feels like that's the formation that makes sense for this team. And I don't understand what it is about that formation he doesn't think he's going to get out of it with the pieces that he has.
Well, he's missing a second good wing. Good being Anderson, Julio being good. He doesn't have a guy. The other options have not produced, whether it be Chu or Bernie or Logan as a wing has not looked good. And in Quill's version of it, Pedrinho as a false wing just came inside. So that really doesn't give, what he's missing is the wide guys to run that front 3. Like he has one guy, he just doesn't have the other guy. And on top of that, when you make the 4-2, which puts Ramiro in the middle with somebody else, Ramiro then has to cover from there to the entire sideline. And he's just not mobile enough to do that. When you play the other way, the other shape, which is this diamond, the 2 8s drop in next to Ramiro, and Ramiro can just stay there. He can just sit in the middle in front of those center backs and not have to chase people all the way to the sideline, which he has to do when he's in the double pivot. So those are the two things. A lack of mobility from one of his 6s, and he's missing a wing. So unless Show can come back and be like starter grade, or Leggett can get healthy, or Passing can get healthy, or Kaick becomes the reasonable, legit starting 6, he's stuck with Ramiro and trying to protect Ramiro, or else you're going to get exposed and end up with 3 goals allowed a game again. So that's what I think is happening.
Dan, you get a chance. You went to the press conference. Did you get a chance to go to the locker room and talk to any of the players afterwards and kind of get a vibe of what's going on with the team?
No, I didn't bother. It's one of those games, even in the press conference room, nobody wanted to be there. It's one of those games that, there's not a whole lot to talk about in that moment. But yeah, I mean, other than Musa, we all saw the performance. There was no great, no great insight to gain from it.
Farrington had a good quote. He said, "We were trying to do some things. Some of it worked. The rest, not so much." Yeah, that's pretty on the point, kid. Yeah.
I think one thing I would love to know. I just didn't really feel like asking it in that moment. What was going on with the front? Well, the front 3 in general. There was way more floating between Anderson, Julio, and Lucho Acosta than we typically see. I mean, you look at the average positions, it almost looks like it almost does look like a 4-3-2-1 with Musa and Lucho under Julio.
You know, I don't know if I can tell you what they would say, but like if you look at the way Lucho Acosta plays and you look at his heat map or his touch map, he drifts wide a lot and drifts wide left way more than wide right. You know, and in particular in this version of the shape where Julio's right, he's kind of trying to fill that space in front of Delgado, in front of Nolan over there. But even before those guys were playing at the beginning of the year, he was doing it too. He just goes looking for the ball, goes looking for the game, and goes left more than he goes right. So you end up with a hole, and Musa instinctively comes and fills it. He's doing a Jesus, shit, there's a big hole, I better go back and try and help line break. So that's my read on what's happening and why it looks like they're holding hands on the average position. But if you look at the heat map, you'll see that Lucho Acosta is leaving a Dan's favorite zone 14 hole in his heat map. He gets into the box and he gets wide a lot compared to that, in particular, that one little part in the middle. And that's why you looks like that.
For me, it just felt like Anderson Julio didn't need to be a part of that, and that really took him out of his game. I mean, Delgado was horrendous. Julio was useless. You know, serve no purpose.
It wasn't good. No.
All right. So because we are the podcast of positive record, Buzz, where is the silver lining, the hope that this season is going to turn and be just fine? Everybody, relax.
Well, I like a lot of what's happening defensively, honestly. I think Nolan's doing a great job. Azur Gide is phenomenal. Ibiaga is playing more conservatively. He's not overreaching. And he's looking solid. I'm not going to go as far as saying incredible, but he's making less mistakes because he's not overreaching. He's being more of a stay-at-home guy, and so he looks a little more solid. They've cleaned up that gap between him and Moore that was a big problem. Now they've lost Moore's verticality. He only had one take on in this game, Moore did, which is incredible. For a dude that beat out Reggie and Brian Reynolds for the national team to be what he is here now is mystifying. But you're looking at a team that has a legit MVP level player in Acosta. If Musa's healthy, he's obviously a legit goal scorer. You know, you have an open DP spot of which you can do something this summer and try and fix a thing. And those are some of the silver linings. Like, this is year one of a build. You know, you need some pieces. You need a wing to either advance, progress, and become a usable wing to balance Anderson Julio, and you need a 6 and or 8. Maybe you're going to get Paxton back and get Paxton healthy. That's $1 million player, but that's a big maybe. If Lejette gets healthy, that's $1 million player that, you know, if you can relieve the minute weight on him, it will be a really nice thing. Maybe Show turns back into what he was last season. Maybe Kaick can become the 6 and replace Ramiro. That's a bunch of maybes, but that's what when you're in a year one of a rebuild, that's what you have okay, we did a base thing. We changed some pieces. We changed a couple of good things. We got Lucho Acosta. Okay, what do we have? Let's see what we have. Let's play. We'll get through half the season. Where are we at? What do we got? And then you start turning over more pieces. So like, you can't, this team is not like your money teams that have like changed over like the whole thing at one time and rebuild in one season. This team, this franchise can't do that. So not the way it was, certainly, but they've made some steps. And so you have to just be, at the beginning of the year, like, what did we talk about? 6th, 7th, 8th is where we thought this team was going to be when our preseason picks, right? And so it's not to use their cliche of being a process, or you just got to try and say, like, what's working good. You know, we're seeing a kid play in Norris. Maybe we'll see some kid. Kaick is a kid in every way that matters. He spent $4 million.
He's younger than Norris.
Norris. So like, you know, okay, like, so maybe we'll get to Garcia soon, and maybe he could do some things. So we'll see.
I got your moment of positivity, but best away record in the Western Conference.
Yeah, that is
FC
so
Dallas.
Weird how they're been undefeated on the road and have only gotten one result at home. That is ridiculous. You mentioned a couple of names in there, and I should have started this off at the start. So what's the story on Lejette and him being out for 2 months? Have they told anybody exactly what the injury is? Or is it one of those somewhere in the lower half between his toes and his waistline?
The only thing I saw listed was upper leg, which is probably like a quad or a hammy. for 8 weeks. Could be the one. You
Yeah.
know. Upper leg means not hernia. Should mean quad.
It could.
I mean, it could be, but I don't. Hernia is more waist or body or something. I don't know.
It probably
Sports
eliminates.
hernia.
It
Sports
probably
hernia.
eliminates testicular torsion injury with upper leg. But
yeah.
You're going for Pitt again, aren't you?
The medic. Yeah,
Watched
the
that episode
most
last night.
medically gory television show of all time. Okay, yeah, so that was the first name you mentioned. The second name you mentioned was Show. We got our first look at Show. Boy, that guy looks like he has not played the game in quite a while. So I obviously watched him last year and thought, well, this guy's actually better than I thought he was going to be. And then Saturday, oh my gosh, it was like, that's the guy that they got from the second division in Israel.
I'm not crazy, right? Like he was struggling to like run even like full speed, right? I'm not crazy. Like what in the world happened to that guy? Like he was sick. So whatever it was just ridiculous in terms of like what it did to him. I'm glad we've at least got him back on the field because he was more positive than Delgado, for Christ's sake.
I guess
he was.
Okay.
Yeah, he was definitely
okay.
Yeah. It may not have been great, but it was better than Delgado. I can tell you that. Yeah.
To be fair, putting Collodi in midfield would have been
it might have been
over Delgado.
And then Lucho Acosta, I thought was interesting. Getting to see him play in person for the first time. I'd never seen Acosta play in person before. He is a really magically skillful player and got all the bags of tricks, but I thought this was a really good example of the thing that Cincinnati fans and DC fans forewarned us about, which is just, you got to be patient because he's going to try to do things and he's going to turn the ball over a lot. And many times he's going to turn the ball over and he's just going to stand there and everybody else is going to have to deal with the turnover. And that's what's going on a lot. And I worry that with Musa being injured, he's just going to get more and more frustrated because I don't think this team is probably up to the quality level he was hoping for.
I mean, when you look at this game, you're like, what an abysmal game. But then you look at his line. He had 7 shot creating actions, 10 progressive passes, 5 carries.
Oh yeah. Buzz,
I mean, like the numbers are there, but it's like, then you look at the heat map and it's all like this ring, like it's not, none of it is getting into like the good spaces. And he was only 2 for 10. Like he tried to go at some guys and was only 2 for 10. And that's like, there's your 8 turnovers you're talking about.
Well,
and that killed him.
If he gets the ball anywhere near the box, 3 guys encircle him. And he's the only option he has left to do is to try to split 2 of the defenders. And that's where he turns the ball over a lot because he tries to pass or split defenders. And he's just got too many guys that are each of them individually are 3 times bigger than he is.
Yeah. And with Musa out, they're going to key him even more. Because now you can no offense to Farrington, but he's a one-on-one mark for your center back. He doesn't need a double team like Musa does. So
what started as double team every time Lucho got the ball instantly turned into a triple team on Saturday night. And that's what they're going to see for some time. So we'll go from there. All right. I also want to bitch at Major League Soccer kit assignment for having both teams wear their secondary kits. As nice as that new Seattle kit is, which by the way is ruined. I hadn't seen it with the shorts with the horns on it. That kit is ruined by putting that horn streak on the shorts. They should have just been solid, the same dark blue color on the shorts. They shouldn't have
follows through the jersey.
Peter no like you.
No, I don't. That makes them look like pajamas. Quit it with the whole. No, just that horn design that Adidas has in that template is it's Adidas's version of the boomerang collar that Nike tried to stick everybody with on shirts at both the national team and clubs level for their last template.
I really like that kit in terms of like its streetwear wearability. From the top of the stands, it's just black, but or dark gray or whatever. But like up close, it's like, oh, that's a great one. Like if I was a Seattle fan, I would absolutely be sporting that thing around.
Yeah,
it's a good looking kit.
Yeah, it is. But I really kind of want. I guess it was okay to see that because I got to see the really nice kit, the primary kit last year, when they were in town last time, and they wore it. But
that's a great kit.
Yeah, it is.
The green one.
That's the best kit. Dallas. Yeah. Anyway. So, all right. Trying to think what else. Okay. Sellout crowd, they claim.
How was the atmosphere, Peter? Since you made it to a game.
Well, that was the other thing. So I had a couple of suspicions going into this thing. One is Dallas's style of play kind of confirmed that it is what I thought it was. And two, again, I'm just going to say this out loud. This is my opinion. I don't expect anybody to agree with me or anything, but I find this, and I've been fascinated by this construction project, but being in the stadium, and maybe this is a byproduct of the fact that it was a really bad game, is that, Toyota Stadium's never been known as a really top quality atmosphere in this league. It can be really good if the game is really exciting, but man, it was a really dire, quiet atmosphere in the stadium, and just staring at blue tarps across the field is kind of like staring at a empty stage with cars on it. It's just not a good experience, and it really sucks a lot of the vibe out of the space. And it's just it's the weird experience I was anticipating that I had seen on TV, unfortunately. And here's my thing, Buzz. The Hunts are going to figure out who their most hardcore fans are by asking them to shoulder this experience for 3 seasons, especially if the team isn't any good.
Yeah.
Because that's not fun to go do on a Saturday night, is sit through that in that place.
No, and it's a terrible TV product too, for that matter, because you can't hear any of the supporters really. And like, if you watch the social medias, whenever FC Dallas plays, it's a stream of like, why are there tarps all over the field? Like, nobody knows. There's a whole stadium renovation happening. And it just makes for a bad TV experience, makes for a bad in-stadium experience. It's tough. I mean, this is going to be a hard weather for them.
Because I'm always looking for the positive. I'm really trying to turn over a new leaf. There being only 11,000 people, you know what that means? Getting into and out of the stadium is way easier than it ever has been.
Dang it.
All of the ingress and egress issues that plague Toyota Stadium as a facility, not so bad when there's only 11,000 people trying to get in and out of the place. I got in really easy.
Just wait till July 4th. They'll find a way.
Yeah, they probably.
Peter, post-COVID, when there was like 5,000 of us there, you and I
we just had our feet up on the seats in front of us.
Man spread everywhere to get out like that.
Get a breeze going up the shorts. Yeah, it was great, man.
So
it was
good.
The best.
Nobody talking to us. Oh, this is so good.
It's just, I don't know. I'm sure other people have been having other experiences. I've been doing a lot of interviewing since they announced the stadium, sending emails and interviewing people that have been longtime season ticket holders about their kind of anticipation or what they expect or what their experiences has been so far. Mm-hmm. And it's been a mix of different things. But a lot of what I was getting out of people, I can confirm is what I experienced on Saturday night. Again, maybe it's not always as quiet and as dire as it was this night because this game was just so bad. But considering they've only won 1 game at home out of 4, I can't imagine the other 3 games were all that great. In general. So
the Chicago one actually was that one was particularly bad, and there was a crazy number of Seattle jerseys spread out through that crowd too.
I didn't even notice that. That was I just saw a lot of people on their phones not paying attention to the game, and it was just it's a weird vibe for sure, but easy to get into and easy to get out of, and I appreciate that. Win. Yeah.
Before we move on, I want to give Martin Paz credit for that save on the Roldan.
Oh, yes.
That was one of the most amazing saves I've ever seen.
Roldan was so mad. He thought he had hit the best hit of his life, and Martin Paz stole it from him.
That was a world-class save, that one. I mean, I gave him man of the match just for that one save. Because that was unbelievable. Yeah. Like to reach up and over like that. I was like, oh my Lord.
Every time you do your 3 instant reaction things and you start with man of the match after a game like that, I clench my fist like Arthur. Like, why are you even daring name somebody?
It's a rule.
It's a rule. It's a dumb rule, Buzz.
No, gotta have a man of the match. You can't let anybody off the hook. Can't let me off the hook. You gotta pick one. Yeah.
But the grass looks fantastic. Looks amazing. Yeah.
Mr. Reed and his crew are phenomenal.
It does. Looks really, really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. Coming up next, they got hold yourself, kids, because it doesn't get any better from here. As Dallas has 3 road games in a row, starting this weekend against Minnesota. Then they have to go to Miami, which was a game that was pushed an extra day because of their other games they're playing in. And then they have to travel all the way back across the country for a May 3rd visit to the new expansion team, who are really pretty surprisingly good in San Diego.
That's second. Minnesota's second in the West. San Diego's third in the West. And Miami's, of course, it's Miami, but they're fourth in the East. So that's 3 very, very difficult
This is going to be a real, right.
This is really rough.
They're going to get what? Let's see. That's 12 available points. What's the over and under on the 12 point? Yeah. What's the over and under? We have to set the over and under first, and then we each have to say over or under.
Oh, well, you can set it then if you want to go ahead.
I'm
have a clue.
I'm gonna set the over and under for 12 possible points, 3 games. I'm setting the over and under at 4. But Dan, you taking the over or under on 4 points out of 3 games?
I only got as far as they'll draw in San Diego. I'm gonna say under.
Okay, Buzz.
I'm gonna take can I take the push? 4? Can I take the 4?
Oh, that's such a wuss out.
Well, you got to set a line on a 0.5 then, because I think they can win a game and tie a game.
You're gonna push at 4. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I'll be the brave one and I'll take the over.
Yeah. You're gonna get 2 wins.
You have changed.
They're gonna get.
Yeah.
They're gonna walk
win
away
in 2 ties.
They're gonna shock the world and win all 3 of these. God, I can't believe I just said that.
I mean, that would be
No, they're not. I'm just.
These are not Atlanta, Kansas City, and
I know that's what worries me. This
Yeah.
team has struggled against the Kansas Cities and the
Salt Lake,
10-man Salt Lake and a terrible Seattle team, and now they're getting ready to go play a bunch of really, really good West Coast and the number 1 team in the entire league on the road. Which okay, that's the other part. Maybe this is my defensive taking the over. They're undefeated on the road, Buzz.
Yeah, look, if you want to solace, that's it. Their road record is amazing. I mean, even Quill was like, ordinarily I might say that I wasn't looking forward to going on the road, because now I kind of am. Maybe that'll help us get better. I was like, okay, you go. Yeah, it's going to be a struggle.
I'm going to be a little more confident in Minnesota. I for some reason thought they'd lost every game there, but they haven't. They've won twice. So still under, but they'll draw a couple.
Okay. Very good. So Minnesota this weekend. Dan, you got a little preview of the Loons for us?
I mean, there's not a whole lot to preview of them. They're gonna give Dallas some problems. They have the lowest average possession in the league at 36.3%.
It's going to be one of those games. 2 teams that don't want.
Do you remember the Saturday night, the Monty Python bit where the philosophers are playing soccer and they're both all just standing there? The ball's in the middle of the field. They all just stand there for like 10 minutes. Remember that bit? That's what it's going to look like.
Yeah, but the difference is Minnesota is going to be stood across the middle of the field, and Dallas is going to be like, oh, do we go around them? Do we take? Well, what do we do? But for context on that, Dallas is lower mid-table in MLS at like 46% possession. But we've seen a couple of times where Dallas is forced to take the ball and doesn't do particularly well with it. Minnesota unbeaten at home, 2 wins and a draw, 5 goals for, 2 against. But FC Dallas does have the best away record in the West. A lot of counter-attacking, a lot of explosiveness that could either be a 4-3 or a 0-0.
All right, Buzz, you want to, based on what you know, I'm going to assume Musa's not going to be available. We'll just keep our fingers crossed and think it's just 1 game. What would you anticipate in terms of a starting lineup? Will the puppy get another start?
Well, that's the problem, is you try and put yourself in Quill's shoes, and it's not easy because he has to fight against those 2 things. Like, what do I have to try and scrounge as many points as possible, or can I try and play to get better over the long course of the season? Because if you're going to try and play to get better, then you have to try and figure out how to become offensive from somebody else other than Musa and Acosta. And that probably means changing the shape. That probably means going back to the 4-2-3-1, which is the shape he really wants to play anyway. But when you do that, then you raise your questions like, who would be the double pivot? Is it just going to be Ramiro and Kaick? Is that what That's what he was kind of sort of doing last game, but didn't. So it lends me to think that maybe he might try it, because otherwise, if you're going to try and play the same diamondy kind of thing, you're going to end up with Acosta and Farrington trying to play that 2-man game. And I don't know that that's going to work very well, because, Farrington's not Musa. It's not the same. So it kind of lends yourself a chance, because assuming you're not going to have Musa, it kind of, I think, gives yourself an excuse to change the tactic to play the way you really want to play, which would be, Farrington is the 9, Anderson, Julio on one wing, and then you have to pick another wing. You can try Pedrinho, you could try Leo Chu, who brings a lot of verticality, or Bernie, who brings a lot of verticality. Those 2 vertical guys are probably your 2 choices, because that's what Quill talks about. Because otherwise, if you use Pedrinho, you end up with Pedrinho in there holding hands with Acosta. And you're basically stuck with Ramiro and Kaick, unless you think Show was good enough you can play one or the other with Ramiro, I guess. So you'd be stuck with like Ramiro Show, maybe. So like you're stuck at this point starting Ramiro. So you have to decide who's the next best player to go with Show. To go with Ramiro. It's not Paxton yet. Leget's out. It's probably not Diego Garcia. So it's going to either be Delgado in the deep, deep spot, which I think is a horrible thing. He's terrible from there. And you're gonna have Kaick, or you're gonna have Show. And I think you might as well play the kid. You might as well risk it. See what happens.
I'm all for the Kaick experience.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well give it a run.
Just kind of fun to watch him golden retriever around the field like that.
It would also give you the option of, if you wanted to experiment late in the game, you could put Show on for Ramiro and see what a Show Kaick combo looked like. Might be kind of interesting, or something else, and see what else works. I mean, some people would say that Siki and Sebling is an option in there, but I don't like Siki in a double pivot. Siki for me needs to be like that third choice 10, or maybe like a really high 8, or even like a wing, like late game guy. I don't think starting him I have the same problem with him as I do with Delgado. Neither one of them are good enough defenders to start in a double pivot like that. I think you're stuck with, if Show was like 100% like looked great, then I might be advocating for that. So I think you're stuck with Kaick, and the other in the back 5 is, you don't have any choices. I mean, Bubakar's not anywhere near good enough to replace Urguide or Ibiaga at this point, and so it's going to be more in Norris and Paz. So, that really is the one question: is like, do I change the tactic? And I think Musa gives you an excuse to do that, and then you leave Kaick with Ramiro and see where, and kind of consider it a test. Like, okay, where are we at? Is this going to work or not?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you don't really have a lot of choices,
You do not. All right.
Because otherwise you're stuck with the same thing we had last game with the Delgado, Kaick, Ramiro triple thing, and only one wing, and it would just be like another game of what we just watched. I don't think you can do another game of what we just watched. It was too poor.
Please stop. You're making my head hurt.
I know. Sorry.
Totally unrelated subject. I was just watching the clip back of Tani Aluasaye scoring that goal in exactly 1 minute at New York City, and it just jogged something in my memory. FC Dallas has not scored a goal in the first half at all. The first 30 minutes of any game at all this season.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I have another weird one for you. The Dallas has given up a goal in the 17th minute for 2 straight games. Atlanta and Seattle both scored in the 17th minute. Thought that was weird.
Quirky burn facts of 2025.
I was like, 17th minute. Where have I heard that before?
Hey, Dan, because I finally got to see also something else in person for the first time. If I give you $100 at the next press conference, will you ask Eric Quill to explain his hat game? Like why he wears that giant hat so low over his head?
Can I ask him? Can I ask him that one-on-one instead?
Sure.
I feel like the Zoom thing would be a bit. The press conference setting would be a little awkward. For
No, you don't have to ask him. And I mean, I guess you could ask him in front of everybody else. But I'm wondering if he's like, yeah, this is my style, man. I got it from a friend in New Mexico or something like that, or I got a receding hairline that I don't want anybody to see, or whatever it is.
I mean, he's been asked that question. He's just said, "I'm a hat
Has he?
guy." Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. It's just a very unusual style of wearing a hat.
Oh, not like the specifics of the way he wears the hat, just the hats in general. He just says he's a hat guy. So I don't know how much more you'll get out of him.
I don't know if I've ever seen a manager of a soccer team wear a baseball hat that low over his eyes like that before. Smetzer with the suit, by the way. I love the suit.
He's always been a suit guy, Spencer.
I love that. Yeah.
And obviously before that, you had the best dressed coach in MLS. Well, until he lost his job.
We had the butter leather jacket for a while in Shellis Heineman. Those were the days.
A lot of fashion goes out the window when it's 110 on the stadium floor.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but Vermees always did it.
Yeah,
that's true. Okay, well, there you go. Dallas 3-2-3 on the season. And we'll find out more about them over the next of the 3 weeks because they got a rough road to go through this month. All right, let's move on. I think I overhyped them last week and on the radio show. I was hyping up the fact that they were first place, Dallas Trinity, and then they went on the road to Spokane and got smoked 3-0.
Dan, did you watch this game?
You know, I didn't. In general, though, injuries are just killing them right now. Losing.
They were so good. Did they have a bunch of injuries from the last game or something? Because they were so good.
I think the only player they kind of lost out was Natalie Wagner, since she was playing in the Dallas Cup, and then got sent off in it weirdly.
Okay. All right. Stop. Hold on. Time out. You know how weird it is to hear that your professional soccer team lost a player because they got called down to go play in a youth tournament?
Well, okay, so I still need to write that thing about the academy stuff. So talking to Coach and Chris
Petroselli,
that's the one. The way they work it out is ultimately the academy players that their academy as players primarily. If Dallas Trinity does not feel that they're going to get meaningful minutes, they will go with their academy instead.
So the girl that's missing now is somebody they could use and would start, but instead is playing with the...
No, she would be on the bench.
Oh, okay. All right. The way you referenced her, I thought maybe she had been a player they were depending on in some way, shape, or form.
Oh, no. And that's the same way like Celie Strawn started, so she did not go with Sola to, any
I see.
Any
okay. That makes more sense. Okay. Now I understand.
I think they've really struggled trying to get their midfield involved quite a bit. Yeah, just in general.
And when is Missimo back? Do we know?
Crap. Coach told me she expected 3 weeks, I think.
Okay. Very good. They have Fort Lauderdale here on Saturday. So,
I thought it was strange in that game that they putting pieces in and out, trying to figure out their team. As Dan said, they're struggling in the midfield. And then they get to halftime and they yank Ubagagu and Ali Thornton, who I would have put as two of their top 4 players. It took them out at halftime, and they proceeded to give up 2 goals, bang, bang. So there's some coaches' decisions there. I'm not certainly. I mean, Hintz is a solid player they brought in for Ubagagu. By the way, the broadcaster called her Ubagu the whole game instead of Ubagagu. So it's like it was a classic. Like, boy, that's way off.
No, I was not calling the game.
Like we get our names wrong from time to time, but like. I'm not a professional broadcaster, So I was a little mystified by those subs, and then they proceeded to give up a couple of goals in quick succession. And then, I think that their coach is trying to figure out how to play when they don't have Missimo. They set the team up for Missimo for the whole back end of the season. And now they're trying to figure out how to do it without her. So like, they were trying different pieces and it just didn't. The first half of that was fine, and then they tried to get, I don't know what they were trying at halftime, and it didn't work.
The crazy part is it really feels like Cameron Lancaster just slots in perfectly into that role. It doesn't seem like you should have to kind of meddle too much, particularly at halftime, taking off the league's leading scorer, and Ubobagu is like third or something in assists in the league.
Yeah, it was a mystery to me why they did that, and sometimes, you try things that doesn't work. You're searching for answers, doesn't work. And maybe when you're first place, you're like, well, we're on the road and we'll roll the dice and see if we can get a goal. Those are not the two players I would have taken out trying to roll the dice and get a goal, but I'm not a coach. So here we are, and they lost. So,
well, they have Fort Lauderdale on Saturday. Fort Lauderdale is in fourth and have only won one game in their last 5. They're winless in their last 3. So we'll see. Dallas had been playing pretty well. Maybe they'll get some people back, and you can go to the Cotton Bowl and witness it.
Yeah, I mean, a home
yourself.
game, you should be able to get some points here, and they got 2 in a row at home, so they got a chance to get themselves back on top of the league.
That would be nice. Let's see, North Texas, Buzz, they had a game.
Yeah, they went down to Austin and tied in regulation, and then won the kicks from the spot, Peter, to be accurate, so you don't get too excited. Don't want to call it a shootout. Antonio Carrera playing in goal. One of the things I've learned this week, which is interesting to me because this is a change in philosophy, basically Diego Garcia and Alvaro Augusto, who's their Portuguese 5th center back, basically, or 4th center back, however you want to count them, on FC Dallas, that has been playing down with them because of various reasons, injuries or whatever else. Those guys were needed for training, for FC Dallas first team training. And North Texas traveled on early enough in the week. They traveled the day before, I think it was on Thursday. Whatever day it was, Quill and the club decided that those 2 players needed to stay to train with FC Dallas. In other words, they put the priority of FC Dallas first team training above playing for North Texas. Whether you think it's the development of the player or that you need quality first team training so you can win games, whichever one of those it is, they deemed it better to keep those 2 players in Dallas than travel them to Austin to play for North Texas against your rival.
All right.
So that's different because we've seen guys go down and play with North Texas because those minutes were prioritized. I've watched a training where, a guest player comes in, an academy player comes up. I've seen a coach take part in training in order to try and keep up the numbers. Not this group now, not Quill. And that it comes back to, I wanted to bring it up because it comes back to this idea of like Quill being torn between, I got to win points or I got to develop. Which one is it? And I think right now it's all about the points. So that's going to be, we'll just keep an eye on the mentality and how that goes forward to the rest of the season. I think it's important.
All right, Rapids 2 next up for North Texas. Tacoma went on the road, lost again, 4-1.
Yeah, that was their first road game of the year. And
was that their first road game? I thought they had a road game already. Okay.
No, and they are still winless. They are not good. Their best player is this kid named Ajmir Spengler. He's not bad, but he scored against Spokane, and former North Texas captain Derek Waldeck, a dude that's fantastic, was one of the goals for Spokane. But this team's got a problem. I mean, they signed Bram Padilla from Foro because he smoked them in the Open Cup, and they were like, okay, we need to get that guy. They signed him to a 25-day contract. And so was there, and they brought him in off the bench. But that team has got problems front to back. I mean, I don't know it's an expansion team, but man alive, that team is definitely going to struggle to get any games at all. I'm not even confident that there's much there in terms of like building. They're going to have to really invest in trying to develop some of the guys they have now if they think they're actually going to win some games, because it's not going well with that team at all. They're going in the wrong direction. Not getting better.
Well, it was an interesting note that tied to USL 1. It comes with the next subject, which is Dallas Cup has started, and Dallas Cup's opening night was a big success. They had over 23,000 people in attendance, which was a record for Dallas Cup. And for whatever reason, I saw that just about the same time I was looking at the USL 1 scores, and I happened to notice the following. Do you realize that the Dallas Cup opening night had 23,000 people? That is 10,000 more attendees than all USL 1 games over the weekend combined.
Wow. That is
USL One's, I think 6 or 7 home games totaled out at just over 14,000 people.
Yeah, USL 1 is in a lot of really small markets. It's Division 3 for a reason. Yeah. It's way down the pipe. So, that's why our expectation that if Texoma can end up drawing 1,000 people at home, that's pretty good actually for them. That market is tiny. So,
well, here's the other weird, and again, this is all stuff I'm going to really start paying attention to as this whole USL Premier thing and the promotion relegation things really starts to heat up. The average attendance over the weekend in the USL Championship, 5,200 average. Only one game exceeded 10,000 people in the stands. Now, I will say that with the inclusion that both the Tulsa game and the Loudoun game were not reported in terms of attendance.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know. Or the Rowdies game. That's which one it was. The Rowdies game didn't announce an attendance. And it was their home opener, by the way.
Yeah.
So tell me what it means when you have a home opener of the season and you don't tell anybody what the attendance was.
Maybe they're still counting. There's so many tickets sold that they're still adding them up.
Theirs is a bit of a weird situation because it was the first game back after the 2 hurricanes.
Oh, so they're playing some sort of unusual. Are they playing in a temporary location? Is that what they're doing?
They're back at Ao Lang. They played the first 3 games on the road.
Okay, but so they're at their normal home.
Yeah, they've just got back into it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Next up on the docket, written on the card. Oh yes, I already mentioned this.
Sorry. Yeah, just going back to Texoma. Couple of things to keep in mind with them. They have supposedly signed a couple of players who've had visas denied, which is
a lot of that going
damaging. Yeah. So obviously that's pretty damaging to their plans. Diego Pepe is a meniscus injury. He will be out into the summer.
Ooh, not good.
Funnily enough, it's the same injury his brother's got.
Ooh,
how odd.
Just a less severe.
Did it happen in the 17th minute? That's a callback to the earlier.
Very good.
Yeah.
To the 17th minute of the podcast, funnily enough.
Yeah.
So speaking of Dallas Cup, the 46th iteration is back. Andy Swift laid this stunning stat on me on Saturday, and I'm going to share it again here because it blew me away. So Dallas Cup is hosting 10,000 athletes this week or these 2 weeks at the Dallas Cup. The Paris Olympics, the entire Paris Olympics had 10,500.
That's incredible.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Dallas Cup is 10, but now with the expanded girls bracket, 10,000 participants, which is essentially an Olympics. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's incredible. It really is. Get out there and watch the games. It's fun.
Clearly, Dan is impressed by that stat, too. I heard all of
I'm
over-the-top reaction and excitement out of his voice verbally on the recorded audio medium that we are doing.
Oh, it's cool. It's a big number.
See any superstars in the making while you're out at games, Buzz?
Yes. Well, first let's talk GA Cup. The U16s went 0-3, didn't win a single game. The vaunted U16s, that's surprising. The U18s have advanced. I think they won 2 games out of 3, and they advanced to the playoffs. So that'll be fun hopefully we'll get a game on TV of them from the GA Cup. That'd be cool. In the Dallas Cup locally, this is of course awesome. So the first day I went and watched the 14s, the Dallas 14s, which is the team I always save for the Dallas Cup. Is my first time to watch them. U14, just arbitrarily, but that's my rule. That was fun. They played a team that was mismatched, so it wasn't as good of a deep scouting as I would like. But there's a kid for them named Benji Flowers, who is his older brother is like a Oregon gridiron football player. So he's a kid who I hear maybe was also plays football. So he's kind of a 2-sport guy, probably, maybe. So it'll be interesting to watch which direction he gets pulled, because he's a elite combination of athleticism and soccer talent. So he was one of those guys when I was watching, I was like, holy smokes, made the cackle stand up on my neck. And then there was 4 or 5 other really exciting players on that team that I've, made little notes on. I'm out for. And then today I watched the U17s play, and their best player or two are with the 18s, but they still had a bunch of good players there too. So it's early. We're only 2 days in. And so no one's like, there's no one that I'm like, it's like, I'm ready to sign him. Cause that was the kid, Sam said, who they signed a couple of weeks ago. That was the one that was like really exciting. The best player since Pepe for them to sign. So, it's early. Hopefully I have another good week of Dallas Cup to come. Get out there and watch great games.
Yeah, games are at Richland College, MoneyGram, and Toyota Soccer Complex, and they're all free. The only games you got to pay for are the ones that are inside Toyota Stadium, and that doesn't happen until Friday, Buzz?
Oh, it's the final 2 days, I think, when you have
Saturday, Sunday?
It's even before that, because I think from like the quarterfinals on, and some of the upper age groups are in the stadium. So maybe the last 3 days, maybe Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I didn't look that up. I didn't know you were going to ask me that. So, but I take that with a grain of salt. But
it is the most prestigious youth tournament in the United States, still is, no matter what anybody says, and it's the crown jewel of the sport in our region. No doubt.
Yeah, and you would find the super group to be absolutely phenomenal level of play. I mean, there's guys in those games that are professionals for all the clubs that are in it, and by the time you get to the late rounds, this play will be spectacular. So get out there and watch.
All right. I think we've really knocked it out of the park tonight. I'm going to give ourselves a solid 8 out of 10 on this one tonight. I've decided to start grading the podcast at the end of every episode. So
no pressure.
A solid 8 today. Dan, do you want to throw anything else out there? You got anything you wanted to mention?
The Gold Cup.
Talk.
The Gold Cup fixtures came out.
Yes.
AT&T Stadium does get the U.S. men's national team.
Why are they putting that game there? I know it's a doubleheader. I know they're playing 2 games back-to-back that night with the U.S.-Haiti game, but why are they playing another game at AT&T Stadium? That place will be empty.
Where would you put it?
Cotton Bowl? Not Dallas?
So
someplace else? Another MLS?
But then you're renting out another stadium. So it's just added cost.
What do you mean?
Well, it's not like they're free.
I understand that. So why rent out AT&T Stadium when you could go get yourself an MLS stadium that'll probably be more easily sold out than trying to sell out an 85,000 seat stadium for a game against Haiti? It's not like they're bringing Mexico in the other game, by the way.
Well, no, but they're still going to sell more tickets than most MLS stadiums.
You think?
There's also the issue of they're short on stadiums because of the Club World Cup. So the Club World Cup is mostly happening on the East Coast, and the Gold Cup is happening on the West Coast.
So you think they're going to get more than 25,000 people for U.S. Haiti in Arlington?
I mean, U.S. draws well enough at least.
Really? Okay. All right.
For a final group game, at least.
Okay. All right.
But, we've also got Dominican Republic and, someone should be playing for them.
Suriname or somebody like that. It's a minnow nation that the other team is playing.
Oh, no, it's Junior Firpo from Leeds who started playing for the Dominican Republic.
Ah, okay.
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, you're looking for a specific player. Very good. All right. Well, I'm still going to give this a solid 8, despite the disagreement on U.S. men's national team.
If anything, that adds to the score.
Well, how about if I give you some breaking news? First ever player in McKinney Chupacabra's history, which ordinarily we wouldn't care, is Ty Reynolds, Brian Reynolds' younger brother, who played for the FC Dallas Academy. So cool little local player signing connection. He's a, another one of these forwards converted outside back, very vertical flying kind of player. So cool.
And who was he playing for? Who was he playing for previously?
Well, the last team he played for that I know of was the FC Dallas Academy. I think he kicked around for a year or two, trying to get on somewhere. At one point, he was committed to San Diego State to play soccer. I don't know anything about why that didn't come off, but I think he tried to get on. I think he had a couple trials and some USL maybe or whatever. So, he's a really young kid. I mean, he only graduated like a year or two ago. So this is the perfect kind of situation for him to get going and get on one of these local NPSL or what USL2, whatever they are. I don't remember.
So now he and his brother are essentially playing at the same level.
Yeah, same level. No, but I think it's still a cool little. I mean, like ordinarily we don't pay that attention to like signings for NPSL teams, but first ever signing is a local Dallas FC Dallas Academy kid, so that's cool.
Third, fourth tier US level, third, fourth tier Belgian league. It's kind of the same thing.
I think Westerlo is higher than that, isn't it?
I don't know.
I thought
that's incredibly early to announce a USL League 2 sign-in.
Fort Worth Vaqueros has been announcing their signings too.
But they're NPSL.
They play at the same time. Same thing.
But one's a college-based league and the other isn't.
I know, but they play at the same time, the same season. So it's, I think Denton announced their first player the other day too. They start announcing college kids they're signing on these teams because part of it is you get the hype rolling of like, oh, I want to go play with that guy. So they start announcing them pretty early. I mean, it is next month. They play in May. So, right? That's next month, isn't it? I'm not losing my mind.
That is next month.
Yeah. So, I mean, sometimes
March,
I'm getting old.
April.
I'm getting
May,
old. Yeah. I mean, I'm 54.
November.
Yeah.
Labradary.
Well, I'm just checking. Maybe I could be praying for it. I don't know. I have said worse things in my life than that, for sure.
And before we go, there is other breaking news that we got today. And I think I knew that they were trying to work on this, but it had been going on for so long I had forgotten about it. But Dallas announced today that starting, I think, this week, I think tomorrow, Tuesday, the 15th, they're going to start doing a replay of the previous weekend's games over the air on Channel 27 KDFI from 8 to 10, I think it is, or 9 to 11, somewhere in there, I think the press release said. So every week, whatever the game was prior, you'll be able to watch it for free over the air on Channel 27. So this
is fantastic. Whoever did this, I will give full kudos to. My number one worry about the Apple TV deal was exposure to new audience, finding new audience. Dallas in particular, the city of Dallas, the Metroplex, the media market of DFW historically has one of the lowest cable penetration rates among major cities in the United States. And I'm sure that includes and has carried over to internet streaming and that kind of thing. So in this town, if you want to get your games in front of the most people, over the air is how you do it. And particularly when you have a closed system like Apple TV, which is a good deal. They got lots of money for it. Great and all that stuff. But to get out of that closed system and get in front of potentially new customers, fantastic. This is a great idea. Even if you bought it and are not making money, even if it's a buy, it's really smart to do. Whatever range that channel has is great. It's terrific. 100% on board.
I just wish they weren't kind of hamstrung by the MLS rule of it having to be more than 48 hours after the game. Yeah,
there are ways they can be better, I'm sure, but beggars can't be choosers in my book. This is a great step. This
is like when they bought their own streaming rights for a couple of $100,000 a few years ago. Like they're making moves. Whether it pays off or not, it doesn't really matter. It's that they're actually trying.
I'll give them full credit for this one. This is a good one.
I'll be interested to see. So I guess they're going to take the radio call and put it on top and run that audio on top of it, or will they just take whatever aired on the Apple TV broadcast and throw it up there?
I believe they're not allowed to air the exact Apple TV broadcast, so it probably will be the radio.
The local radio play-by-play. Okay. All right. Well, good for them.
Third Degree, the podcast, is brought to you by the El Matador Watch Party. This weekend, Minnesota versus FC Dallas up there in the Great White North. But you can watch it snug in downtown Dallas at the Scarlet Pumpernickel. That's April 19th, 7:30 p.m. FC Dallas at Minnesota United. They're going to have the entire second floor reserved. All the TVs will have the game on, full sound, bartender, amazing food. Plenty of street parking down there, local garages nearby, but best of all, the Scarlet Pumpernickel is only 2 blocks from the Akron Street Dart Station. Come on down, join El Matador, watch FC Dallas take on Minnesota United. Siempre contigo.
How in the hell have we been talking about all this crap for an hour and 20 minutes? I do not know.
Well, an hour of it was FC Dallas, so it's we only did 20 minutes and everything else.
Good Lord. Okay. Dan, last call. Dan, you got anything else?
Oh, good.
All right. Your beard looks amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
And Buzz, you don't have a beard, but you look amazing nonetheless.
Yeah, it's awful.
All right. But your Emmy in the background on your video
Looks so good. Right with
so
Boba Fett.
shiny.
Soccer books.
So, like the Emmy boobs, she's sticking them out like that as she holds the globe over her head. So sexy. All right. Thank you, Buzz. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
And thank you, FC Dallas Curious fan. Yeah, probably. We'll talk to you next week on another episode of Third Degree of the Podcast.
Ah, shit, I forgot to say anything.
Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.